The call of transformation. Do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. But it's just really a powerful passage, isn't it? Just has wonderful wisdom and counsel. Do not conform to the pattern of this world, the conditions, race consciousness, universal consciousness, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind, expansive thinking, feeling, being and doing. So what page out of the Science of Mind textbook do you suppose that quote comes from? Well, actually, it is actually mentioned in the Science of Mind textbook because I looked it up. But it is originally from the Bible, the Judeo-Christian Bible. It's Romans 12:2, and my girls will tell you that I have a little placard with it in there. It is my absolute favorite Bible verse. Interestingly enough, the church in Whittier had that up on the wall, and that was their placard that they had up on the wall. And I would look at that every Sunday and think, wow, that is just like, be not transformed. I'll go back to get it exactly as. Do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. And it's said in different Bibles have it differently. So, but I love that. It's just my favorite. So, for 28 days, we are engaged right now in doing something significant, some real significant renewing. That's what we're working on this month. We're calling it our journey of transformation. 28 days of transformation, not to it. Not 28 days until then, poof, something happens, transformation occurs, but 28 days of transformative activity. 28 days of intentionally living in the energy of transformation that creates expansion in the moment and then provides the platform or foundation for another transformation, which then provides the platform or foundation for another transformation, and on and on and on. Because we never stop growing or expanding, do we? It's an ongoing process. We never really actually arrive. It's truly all about the journey. In addition to our time together each Sunday, this 28-day journey includes transformative daily activities, which you all have on your chair. And for those of you who started last week with us, you've all been participating with this, right, over the past week? Yes? Okay. So this past week, you were called to break up a logjam in your life. Break up that which could stand in the way of transformation by creating space. Creating space in your tangible world. So, who created a clean space or cleared some clutter?
Yay!
Yay!
I was forced, but I did it.
You were forced. We actually did. We actually started, it's a little overwhelming. I can't tell you how many times we've stepped into our garage and went, and turned around and walked back in and closed the door. It happens quite often, but this time we actually said, let's just start at this corner. And we threw things away. And then we put things in a pile for the kids to look at. So then we have jobs for them. Then they will. But we've also been creating space in our inner world through self-forgiveness. Forgiveness of others, and then by taking steps that go beyond forgiveness. Steps of love and gratitude. In fact, our affirmation on one of the days was, through love and gratitude, I return to wholeness. Through love and gratitude, I return to wholeness. So let's say that together. Through love and gratitude, I return to wholeness. That just feels so good. The work we did at home this week was part of what we call the process of transformation. And we used the caterpillar in the cocoon as our metaphor, and that's why I had Suzanne do that reading today, for that process of transformation or metamorphosis, and how we needed to get rid of things and get things out of the way so that the metamorphosis could occur. If the caterpillar had taken a bunch of stuff with him inside of his cocoon, there would have been no space for the transformation to have occurred, right? I mean, it's like, I might need this when, my next experience here. Thus, we must do our work of unjamming that log jam. Today's title, or time together, is entitled The Call of Transformation. And just like the call of the butterfly lives deep within that caterpillar, the call of transformation lives deep within each and every one of us as well. Something is calling you right now. Something is calling you to your next revolution around that spiral of evolution. Whether you know it or not, that is what is happening, and today we're going to explore it just a little bit. And I'm aware that we can get pretty freaked out, uncomfortable, even upset or angry when we talk about our call. And I believe that, at least in part, the reason we have those reactions is because we think there has to be some huge, big, gigantic thing that we're supposed to do in the world. And we might feel a little bit intimidated by that. And I have to tell you, when I was younger, that was the time when they were doing all the protesting for the nuclear plants that were going up. And I just admired the passion of the environmentalists who were chained to the fences. Or the ones who would chain themselves around a tree so it wouldn't be cut down. And I thought, wow, I want to feel that passionate about something. I want to feel a call that is that moving, that drives me to do something like that. But it can be pretty intimidating. And I think we believe that if we can't figure it out, what that big call might be, that we might feel like we're a failure. Or we feel that if we figure it out, but we won't be able to do it, then we'll be seen as a failure as well. So the entire subject of answering the call, and maybe there isn't just one, maybe there's 2 or 3 or 4, or even more. But it can be daunting, and it can set us back a little bit and make us feel a little bit, anxious. Does this resonate with anybody at all? I was feeling this, definitely. So if you've ever felt that, I want to share with you a story of the master teacher Jesus that really might help put things in perspective. So Jesus was one day in the temple and watching people as they gave their gifts and contributions. You may have heard this before. And there were those who were bearing great gifts, right? Giving gifts that had very high value in the world. And then there was the widow. In those days, being a widow was a pretty lowly thing. Widows were outcasts. They were often required to sell their children to pay their debt. It was a very, very difficult way of life. And Jesus was observing people offering their gifts and contributions in the temple. And the widow came to the altar, and it was very clear that she had very, very, very little to give. And yet, she had several mites in her hand. Now, you're probably thinking a mite is a bug, and it is, but not in this context. It is the smallest amount of money that there was at that time. And the widow is said to have taken 2 of those mites and put them on the altar. Jesus observed that she did this with such heart and with such love that he called over his disciples and said, "Look at the others who gave in ways the world would say is great, yet she has given more this day than all those others added up." When you listen and respond to your call, which is the call of transformation, please don't measure it by what the world would say is great. I think a lot of times we do that. We think, well, what will other people think? Well, is this a big enough thing? Don't do that. Answer the call of your heart. Don't worry about what your parents might say is great, or what your spouse or friends may say is great, or even what your ego may say is great. That little voice that keeps telling you, oh, this isn't good enough. But then, when your call is offered with love and heart, it is great in the way that God measures greatness. Do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. I don't usually quote actors or those in the entertainment field. Well, maybe I do sometimes, especially if it's Yoda. But an individual in this arena said something pretty profound on a talk show. Ashton Kutcher, who's actually kind of cute, was on Ellen DeGeneres, and she's one of my favorites as well. And he spoke about a speech that he gave at the Teen Choice Awards. Now, I probably didn't watch it, but these 2 may have. And he said, I think that so much of what we see in the world today is this sort of propaganda machine around fame and around celebrity. And there are kids that grow up today and think, I want to be famous. Instead of, when I grow up, I want to do something. I want to build something. I want to create something. They start with, the end, what happens at the end, right? He said that he thought that he had a perfect moment to actually let them know that fame and celebrity are pretty meaningless. Kind of crap is actually what he said, but I don't like to say that here. And working hard and being thoughtful and generous and smart is a path to a better life. What is it the Dalai Lama says? My religion is kindness. Isn't that easy to remember? Mm-hmm. What is it you believe? Well, I believe what the Dalai Lama believes. My religion is kindness. Do something. Build something. Create something. Be thoughtful. Be generous. How many opportunities do we get each day to do one or more of those things? These are things that make life complete, because these are the things that answer the call within you. And I'll tell you, yesterday my husband was saying, oh, thank you for doing all that you did yesterday. And yesterday we had a friend who'd had surgery, and I said, can we bring something? And my girls are doing something later on, and they said, can you make a dessert? So I spent the day in the kitchen, which I love to do anyway, but I made gifts of love. I made food to take to a friend who just had surgery. And, it's little things. It's not a big thing. It took time, but it's the little things that reach out and touch people. And I think people are amazed now when you bring something homemade or something that you took time to do. There's another scripture I want to share with you this morning, Matthew 22:14. And you may have heard this before, and it is, many are called, but few are chosen. And you've heard that, right? Has everybody heard that? Many are called, but few are chosen. And that's what it says in the King James Version of the Bible. But did you know that in original Hebrew, it said, many are called, but few choose to heed the call? How different is that? Many are called, but few choose to heed the call. That kind of puts it back in our arena, doesn't it? Could this be because of what we're talking about right now? We don't think our call is big enough or worthy enough or significant enough. But listen to some wise words from the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. If a man is called to be a street sweeper, he should sweep streets, even as Michelangelo painted, or Beethoven composed music, or Shakespeare wrote poetry. He should sweep the streets so well that all the hosts of heaven and earth will pause to say, here lived a great street sweeper who did his job well. We've all seen that, haven't we? When we've been, I don't care where we've been, the person who takes the time to clear your table at the restaurant and does it with such finesse and dedication that wow, he's really doing a good job because he feels it inside. There's a book called Plain and Simple that is an amazing book about the Amish. And there's a story in there where the woman who is from Berkeley, she's a psychologist, goes to live with them. And she's observing them, and she watches them, and they've talked about later in the day they're going to go swimming. But right now they're cleaning, and they are just so into their chores and scrubbing the floors and wiping the counters. And even the children are totally dedicated to all of their chores. And she thought, boy, if my kids knew back home that they were going to go swimming, they'd be rushing through so that they could get to that swimming hole. And they said, no, everything we do is for the glory of God. Everything we give our 100% attention to. Plain and simple. There's time for everything. And I've always held that closely. I thought that was a really good example. So to help us, remind us what the call of transformation really is, I have an acronym, because I love acronyms. All right, so here we go. It is call. Creatively aligning with, loves, leading. So when we are answering our call, we are creatively aligning with love's leading. This can be in the smallest way, very small, and even that matters, or the biggest way, a huge way. It really doesn't matter. It is the nature of the infinite to create, and we are the vehicles through which creation happens. In the very real sense, at the point in the universe where we are, God needs our creativity to do its work. for we are the hands, aren't we, of God. We are the voice of God here on earth. As a wise person once pointed out, God could not create Antonio Stradivarius violins without Antonio, right? Or you probably have heard the story of the farmer who was sitting along the side of the road when a traveling salesman stopped his car and asked for directions. After receiving the directions, the salesman marveled aloud at the beauty of the farm that stretched before him. The crops were in perfect rows, and they were robust and healthy. The salesman commented to the farmer, My, you are a blessed man. Look at what God has done here. This is amazing. To which the farmer replied, Yes, it is amazing now, but you should have seen the mess it was when God had it alone. Quantum physics says that the universe is ever expanding. And so, in you, there is a call, a pull to a greater expression of you. You can't deny it. It's pulling you, it's pushing you, it's urging you, and eventually it will have its way with you. The creative urge is more powerful than any resistance, stronger than any holdback, more potent than any concern or feeling that you aren't worthy. It loves you and it called you into being. As we pay attention to the little nudges to be God's presence, to the creative urge to ever express more of who we are answering the call. As you incline the mind toward love's presence, you will be aligned with love's impulse in you. Then follow love's leading. When we say yes to our call, there is no place where love is not. The Persian poet Rumi said this, Feel yourself being quietly drawn by the deeper pull of what you truly love. Wow. Feel yourself being quietly drawn by the deeper pull of what you truly love. And you wouldn't love it if Spirit had not placed that urge within you. Let me illustrate with a story that makes me smile every time I hear it. Little Johnny was born with the physical and mental deficiencies, but he had a great heart and spirit. His father helped him learn to run, and though he ran in a very awkward way, he loved it. He loved to run. One day, Jimmy decided to enter the Special Olympics, which he did. And as he and his father were on their way to see the first race, the little boy said, I'm going to win this race. His dad worried because he knew the degree of difficulty his son had in running. And so he said, it doesn't really matter whether you win this race. What matters is that you are in it and that you try and that you have fun. Well, Jimmy thought about that. And as well as, he thought that was good, all right. But he insisted that he was still going to win. It's like, okay, it's good that I'm going to try, but I'm going to win this race. His father tried again to convince him that winning wasn't the important thing, but Jimmy insisted that he would win. So there they were on the track, and the gun went off, and the kids set out, and Jimmy immediately fell behind because he really couldn't run very fast. He was trying valiantly to catch up when he heard a cry from behind him. A little girl, even slower than he, had fallen and had scraped her knee. Well, Jimmy turned around, and he went back, and he took the little girl's hand to help her up. And one by one, the other children turned to see what was happening. And they too turned around on the track. And pretty soon, all of the children in the race came back to Jimmy and the girl, and they joined hands. And they ran across the finish line together. And on his way home, Jimmy said, See, Dad, I told you I was going to win. So why does that story touch us so much, even though we've heard it before? Why does that get us right here? I think because we resonate when we see the call, when we creatively align with love's leading, being answered, when we see that call being answered. It moves us, it touches us, because it's right. We just feel that there's just such a sense of rightness there. This week's work, which is in your little handouts on everybody got a handout? Yeah, this week's work. This week's fun. Yeah. In your little, you're right. We don't call it yard work anymore either. We call it yard fun.
Yeah.
Yes. We decided we're changing things around a little bit. So if you didn't get one, there's one out there. Is to listen to the call, to listen to how you're being invited to creatively align with love's leaning. Leaning. Most of the week will be spent just listening. Just listening. It's a good time for that too. It's beautiful, especially in the mornings. Just listening and being open to hearing. What I would like to do now is to anchor you into your divine assignment this week, because we are not called just once for one thing. We are called many times and in many ways. So, what is the call now? At this point in your life, what is the call right now at this point in your life? Close your eyes if you'd like. Take a deep breath, settle in. We are called to a place where the love of God, the power of God, the presence of God makes itself known. How are you being called? Are you called to be the friend, the neighbor, the builder of the community, the prayer, the giver? How are you called to be the highest expression of God or Spirit you can be? You've been called for something more than just making it, just getting by. You've been called for a high intent and a holy purpose. In this moment, give yourself to the calling of something extraordinary in your life. And this week, be conscious to guidance, inspiration, and support. Commit to a high sense of calling. Right here, right now. And so it is.